أما بعد فقد قال الله تعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اعلموا أن الله يحيي الأرض بعد موتها قد بينا لكم الآيات لعلكم تعقلون إن المصدقين والمصدقات وقرضوا الله قرضا حسنا يضاعف لهم ولهم أجر كريم صدق الله العلي العظيم. Just recited the verse number 17 and 18 from Surah Hadid, which says, know that Allah revives the earth after its death. We have certainly made the signs clear for you so that you may exercise your reason. Indeed, the charitable men and women and those who lend Allah a good loan, it shall be multiplied for them, and there will be a noble reward for them as well. These two verses, after having recited the last ayat, which was heavily focusing upon the concept of how hearts are dead, فَقَسَتْ قُلُوبُهُمْ, how hearts have become stern-hearted, hardened, in other words. And the terminology is also used in our daily lives when we refer towards someone saying, you know, they're, I don't know if it's translated in English the same way, but in Urdu and other languages, we do have the slang which says, dil sakht ho gaya, you know, the heart has become very stiff. So obviously it doesn't translate the same way as a slang in Urdu, in English, but that's the gist of it, that we do use this terminology. And that's what Quran is saying, فَقَسَتْ قُلُوبُهُمْ, how the hearts have become very rusty. They become, because of the rust that has gone upon it, because of the heedlessness and the ignorance, the hearts have become stiff. Right after that ayah it says, اعلموا أن الله يحيي الأرض بعد موتها, that indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, let it be known that Allah revives the earth after its death. We have certainly made the signs clear for you so that you may exercise reason. Right away it says, أن الله يحيي الأرض بعد موتها. Right away it's talking about the death and the life of the earth. How the earth, you know, will be dead and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring it back to life, or revive it in other sense. قَدْ بَيَّنَّا لَكُمُ الْآيَاتِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ. Points here is that previous verse was talking about hardening of heart. This one is mentioning the reviving of the earth after its death. So you see the relationship between the two. How in human soul or human's body, the heart, it has the very centralized position. If heart is dead, it needs reviving. It needs to be waken up. It needs to be brought back to life, how it's already dead. But same way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when the earth or when the land or this, it was dead, it will bring it back and it will revive it back to life again. So hadith says revival of earth after its death here refers to the life we will have after the zuhur of our Imam Mahdi ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu sharif. That after Imam returns with his justice after the death, after the earth would be filled with tyranny and injustice. In other words, after the earth will be, physically it's there, but it will be dead because there will be so much tyranny and there will be so much injustice in it. When Imam returns, he will revive the earth back to the system of justice that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has established. So some of the messages in this ayah that could be learned is that spiritual life is through humble heart. Material life is when spring comes after fall. You know how every year when we see the climate changes, spring comes, brings life with it. The trees have grown back, the leaves have grown back. And so there's life in nature as we see it. After a period of if it was pretty much dead, the nature was pretty much going through this cycle. So it's revived back the same way. If you want to bring spring into your hearts, if you want to bring this after your hearts have died, the way to do it, which is being referred over here, is through humbleness. That you go ahead and be humble to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This night when Amirul Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam was struck by the sword of Ibn Muljam, may Allah's curse be upon him, there are many aspects of the life of Amirul Mu'mineen. Now, when you take a discussion about a personality who's Imam al-Muttaqiyan, you could either talk about the faith, his iman and his worship, ibadat, to the extent that when our fourth Imam, who's referred to as Zainul Abidin, the one who's the zinat of all of those who have ever worshipped. He's Sayyidus Sajidin. He's the master of anyone who has ever prostrated. These two titles, having possessed these two titles, Jabir tells our fourth Imam, "Oh Imam, how much worship will you do? How much sajda will you perform?" You know the reply that Imam gave? He said, "With all the ibadat that I do, I will still not be able to reach the ibadat of Amirul Mu'mineen. With all the ibadat that I could perform, known as Sayyidul Sajideen, known as Zainul Abideen, these are the words that are coming out of his mouth when Jabir is asking him. So you could talk about the faith of Amirul Mu'mineen, you could discuss the worship of Amirul Mu'mineen. Obviously the worship of Amirul Mu'mineen, not only in his house, but even outside in the battlefield, you see the worship of Amirul Mu'mineen. The Darbatu Aliyin afdalu min ibadat al-Saqlain, that just the Zarbat of Ali ibn Abi Talib would be preferred over the ibadat of Saqalain, jinn and ins. So even when it comes to the non-ibadat of Ali ibn Abi Talib, it takes over the ibadat of jinn and ins as well. When you talk about the bravery and the awe of Amirul Mu'mineen, it's a whole discussion on its own. You can discuss the patience and the forbearance of Amirul Mu'mineen. You can discuss the generosity and the affection of Amirul Mu'mineen. Generosity to the extent that Imam would give away, he would give away, and people would be asking Imam, how much will you give away? He will reply by saying that in regards to that, as far as his generosity is concerned, Imam would say, well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed me with this, and the reason that He has bestowed me now, there's no reason for me to stop and not give away. No, the reply that Imam gave, this was the reply by Imam Hassan, the reply that Amirul Mu'mineen gave, he said, tell me which one of my giving has been accepted. If you can point out that all that I have given thus far has been accepted, I will stop giving away. How could you be so sure that Allah has accepted all of that you have given away in His way? That is the reason that I keep on giving away. So why? What is the incentive for him? He said, I don't know which one is accepted near Allah. Maybe this one will be accepted. Maybe the next one will be accepted. And that keeps me going. We can talk about the generosity and the affection of Imam. We can talk about the eloquence and the rhetoric of Imam. We can talk about his justice and the thirst for reality, and as well as the ikhlas of Amirul Mu'mineen. All of these different topics, brothers and sisters, could be discussed in regards to the life of Amirul Mu'mineen. The little time that I have in the next 10 minutes, I want to very briefly touch upon the ikhlas of Amirul Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wa salam, salawat bi Muhammad wa alayhi. That also, which is visible through the will that Imam gave. That last instant was visible in Imam's will to his son after he was struck by the sword of Ibn Muljam. And this was a will which is, you could read in Nahjul Balagha number 47, where Imam is doing the wasiyah to his sons Hassan and Hussein when he was struck. He said, "Usikuma wa jami'a waladi wa ahli wa man balaghahu kitabi." He says, to you, to my children, and to my other children, or to my relatives, and to all who acquire this will of mine. So Imam is not only referring to Hassanain, to his relatives, to his close ones, but also to us as well. He said, to everyone this will reaches. This is what he says. I advise you to fear Allah and to be pious. First and the foremost advice by Amirul Mu'mineen is to acquire taqwa. To have fair and honest dealing with one another, and to improve mutual relations, because I have heard. He says, I want to salahu zatil bayni afdalu min ammat as-salati was-siyam. He said, go ahead and reconciliate between your brethren. Why? He said, because I've heard your grandfather, the Holy Prophet, saying to remove mutual enmity and ill feeling and hatred is better than recommended prayers and fasting. To this extent, Imam is giving advice that forget about the recommended ibadat. If you can go ahead and reconcile two brothers, if you can go ahead and reconcile two mu'mineen, and to relieve them of their differences that they have, that is better than your recommended prayers and your recommended fast. Then he continues, he says, Allah, Allah, fil aytame, fala tughibbu afwahahum, wala yadhi'u bihadratikum. Fear Allah when the question of helpless orphans comes about and arises. You should never let them starve so long as you are there to guard and protect them. They should not be ruined or lost. So Imam pays extra attention. What is the situation? Imam has just been struck by a sword. He's bleeding from his head. He's breathing possibly his last breaths. And these are the words that are coming out of his mouth that he wants all of his followers to understand. What does he want? He wants yatim to be taken care of. He's referring towards the sons Hassan and Hussein, who soon will become yatim themselves, to go ahead and take care of other yatama. Make sure that in your company, these yatama, he says, so long as you are there to guard and protect them, they should not be ruined or they should not be lost. Make sure that you take care of the yatim. Then Imam says, Wallah fi jiranikum fa innahum wasiyyatu nabiyyikum ma zala yusi bihim hatta zananna annahum sayuwarrithuhum. He says, the Holy Prophet had always advised, cautioned and reminded us of his responsibility towards jiranikum, towards your neighbors, as far as your neighbors are concerned. To the extent, he says, so much so that we thought that Prophet of Allah might go ahead and next occasion assign them a share from our heritage. So much that he has advised us to take care of your neighbors, that we thought he was going to go ahead and assign a share in our inheritance, in our virathat, to the neighbors, to listen to the extent that he has gone ahead and given exhortations and advices in this regard. Then Imam continues, I don't have time to go in the details and explanation. All of these sentences require explanation, but inshallah you'll go ahead and study it on your own. He says, Wallah, fil Qur'an, la yasbiqukum bil amal bihi ghayrukum, wallah fis salati fa innahu amudu dinikum. He said, fear Allah in respect to the Holy Qur'an, lest others should excel and surpass you in following its tenets and in acting according to its orders. Is it the state of Muslimin that Imam is predicting there will come a point where non-Muslims and non-believers will be using this Quran more than the believers and Muslimin themselves will be utilizing it? Now go ahead and look at the world, how people have utilized the teachings of this Quran who don't even believe in this book, who are not even the followers of this religion. Are they taking lead upon you as far as reading this Quran is concerned, as far as understanding this Quran is concerned? This is what Imam is telling us. La yasbiqukum bil amali bihi ghayrukum. No, lest someone else takes over, leads over you in regards to following the commands of this Quran. Then Imam says, Allah fi salat fa innaha amudu dinikum. Fear Allah so as far as the prayers are concerned, because prayers are the pillars of your faith. Make sure you take care of your prayers. We recited the other night, our sixth Imam, what did he say? He said, the person La yanalu shafa'atuna man istakhaffa bis salat. The person who takes the salat for granted or takes it so loosely that it does not have any weight or is taken very lightly will not be benefiting from our shafa'at. Imam did not say the person who doesn't pray will not benefit from our shafa'at. He said there's an ayat in Quran as to what is going to happen to the person who doesn't pray. He's referring towards the person who takes the salat lightly in all aspects of their life. Taking the salat lightly, there are many incidents that we can explain how we give priority. Whenever we have given priority to something else over the salat, as long as that other thing was not an wajib tar, when we have given this priority, something else priority over the salat, we are according to the misdaq of this hadith of our sixth Imam, which is saying, La yanalu shafa'atuna man istakhaffa bis salat. That person will not receive our shafa'at who abandons, or in other words, takes lightly this salat. Then Imam continues, Amir al-Mu'mineen, he's been struck by the sword, and these are the words that are coming out of his mouth. He said, Wallah fi bayti rabbikum, la tukhalluhu ma baqitum, fa innahu in turika lam tunadharu. Fear Allah in the metro of his holy house, the Kaaba. Let it not be deserted, because if it is deserted, you, the Muslims, will be lost as well. Make sure that you take care of. Look how Imam started. He said, make sure that you reconcile between the brethren. Then Imam goes ahead and talks about the orphans. Then Imam talks about Quran. Then Imam discusses Salat. And now Imam is mentioning the Kaaba. You see the sequence that Imam is going through, prioritizing the things as he goes along, so that we adhere to these things as we implement them in our lives. Imam says, Wallah fil jihad bi amwalikum wa anfusikum wa alsinatikum fi sabilillah. Do not forget Allah. Struggle in His cause with your tongue, with your wealth, and with your lives. We see that these are the last words of Amir al-Mu'mineen as he was struck by the sword of Ibn Muljam. He said, Wa alaykum bit tawasul wa tabadul wa iyyakum wa tadabur. Develop mutual liking, friendship and love, and help one another. Take care that you do not spurn and treat one another badly or unsympathetically. These are the words coming out of a Mawla who is now breathing last of his breath. He says, exhort people to do good and abstain from the evil. Otherwise, the vicious and the wicked will be your overlord. They will become your sultan. They will be your overlord. And if you willingly allow such persons to be your rulers, then your prayers will not be heard by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam is telling us what not to do, and then he's telling us if you did it, what will be the consequences of that thing. So in other words, stop it from completely. Then Imam continues, ثُمَّ قَالَ يَا بُنَيَّ يَا بَنِي عَبْدِ الْمُطَّلِبِ لَا أُلْفِيَنَّكُمْ تَخُوضُونَ دِمَاءَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. This is something that we can learn from Amir al-Mu'mineen's life. All of these things, yes, but this is something which we can apply as well. How Imam is stopping a fitna, is stopping a chaos, a corruption from taking place in the name of Amir al-Mu'mineen that we usually see in the world throughout today. He says, O sons of Abdul Muttalib, let there be no retaliation for the act of my murder, and do not roam about with a drawn sword with the slogan, Amir al-Mu'mineen is killed, Amir al-Mu'mineen is killed. Don't use my blood to go ahead and cause fitna and chaos and corruption in the community, in the society. Do not start a massacre of my opponents and the enemies. See to it that only one man, that is my assassin, is killed, as the punishment of the crime of murder is death, and nobody else is harassed. And then lastly he says, Unzuru إِذَا أَنَا مِتُّ مِن ضَرْبَتِهِ. The punishment to that man is who attempted to murder me shall take place only when I die. But as long as I survive from this, then I will take care of it myself. He says that if I die of the wound delivered by him, this punishment shall be only one stroke of sword to end his life. He should not be tortured before his death. His hands and feet should not be amputated, because I've heard Holy Prophet saying, do not amputate hands and feet of anybody, be it a biting dog. These are the words of the Imam of Muttaqiyan, Amir al-Mu'mineen, and the last breaths he's taking after he's been struck by the sword of Ibn Muljim. Blood is dripping down Imam's face. His mahasin is filled with this blood, and these are the words coming out of his mouth. What does he want us to do? He wants us to apply this into our life. Do not cause fitna. Make sure that you reconcile between your brethren. Make sure you relieve the community of the fitna. Let there be no discomfort as far as you are following my commands. Let us ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the tawfiq to be able to follow these commands of Amir al-Mu'mineen. On this night, when we remember Imam alayhi salatu wasalam, the night which was very difficult for him as well as very difficult for his family, especially his kids, Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein, who had to deal with the ummah after the demise of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.